Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Union It's Time We Talk, Season 1, Episode 6. My name is Carlos Smith, and today's episode is sponsored by Across the Line Podcast. Today we have some very special guests with us once again today, but before we introduce them, allow me to introduce the panel once again. To my right, Ms. Anastasia Booker. Also, to my right, Mr. T.J. Booker. And to my left, we have community activist Mr. Jared Smith, and also the Democratic nominee, Mr. Jeff Bailey, who has a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management, 7 years probation, parole agent, and 18 years in judiciary. Before we get to the questions, I just want to let everyone know once again, this platform is not just strictly for a Democrat or strictly for a Republican. This platform is for everybody. This is for the community. This is something that's going to benefit everybody. So there is no favoritism. We just welcome anybody that's running for office to this platform. So once again, just want to let everyone know this is not strictly Democrat or Republican. This platform is built for the people. So let's get to it. How are you gentlemen doing this evening?
Good.
And thank everybody again for making this another this episode special, just like all the others. Like I said, it's so important because election time is right around the corner, and it's important for the people watching this to see the candidates instead of walking blindly into the polls and not know who they're voting for. They just see a name on the ballots and they just select a candidate. So my first question for you, Mr. Bailey, what have you been doing to prepare for this election? This is right around the corner.
Well, it started back in March, and I'll just tell you right up front, it's a lot of hard work. If you never run for our public office, then everybody should try it one time, because it's a lot of hard work, a lot of events you have to do, and it's pretty strenuous, but you got to have good support behind you. You got to have good people working with you, and you got to have good. Your family's got to be all in with you and helping you. That's the main thing, because you're taking a lot of time away from the family. Out going doing events and everything, and that's kind of stressful, but they understand and they work just as hard as I do, and the people that work with my campaign, they work awful hard too. So, and I thank them for everything they do, and the time they spend. It's just even the smallest task they do is appreciated, because it's the small things in life that matter. It's not always the big things. So it's not all about me. It's about the people that surround me and who work or working with me, who believe in me.
Mm-hmm. One more question for me, and then I'll let my panel ask the questions. Also, for the people watching, if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to leave a comment, and we'll do our best to answer the questions. My next question, Mr. Bailey, is: as you make your rounds in the community, what is your sense like? What is your pulse of the community that you get when you make your rounds throughout the community right now in Union County?
Well, when I'm out talking to people, the issues that I run across is. The sheriff's department's kind of got a black eye, at this point in time, and a lot of people say that, a lot of things that went down, and I try to tell people that's water under the bridge, because, we got new administration coming soon, and, there's a trust issue out there, and a respect issue, and, I tell the people when I'm in the community, and I say it's in order to get respect, you have to get it. So that's what you have to do. We have to give respect to the community, and therefore it'll turn the community around, and they'll eventually start respecting the sheriff's department again. And there's some good people there. There's some good officers that want to do the right thing, but we just need good leadership. There's a good heart there, but just the leadership has been lacking, and I think that's what I can bring to the table, and I try to explain that to people.
What made you decide to run? I mean, why did you say, look, I want to run for sheriff?
Well, it started, I guess, 4 years ago when I ran the first time. As a judge, I'd seen things that I just didn't approve of. And I kept that in my mind, and I'd go home and I'd think about it, and I knew it wasn't right. And I spent a lot of time on Friday trying to straighten out cases when I had bonded cases coming in. I mean, it's like, this person's been arrested for this, and I'm like, okay, now I have to ask the defendant, give me your side. You got a right to face your accuser, so give your side of it. And when I listened, there was just things that didn't add up, and I'm a big advocate for doing the right thing. That is what I stand for, and doing the right thing. And as a judge, the Supreme Court put their trust in it, so I actually answer to the Chief Justice. And so I had to go by a standard that was above reproach and do the right thing. And that's just my background, that I try to do things like that. And it works out best when you do that. Even when I'm out knocking on doors, knocked on the door the other day, and a young lady came to the door, and I said, you look familiar. She said, yeah, I know who you are. And I said, well, my next question usually is, well, how'd it go for you? And so, because you don't never know. Because I had to make a decision. And based on facts, I had to make a decision. And her quoted were, you're a good person, but I was in a bad situation. So, that's a good answer to me. But I've always tried to be fair with people and treat them with respect and do the right thing. If you do the right thing, then people, someone's going to get mad anyway. Because, in that situation, half the people's mad at the end of the trial or at the end of a case or whatever, and the other half's happy. So it's just according to who I ruled for. So, but I did it in a fair way, I felt like.
As a judge, do you feel like, running for sheriff now, that would make you have somewhat empathy for people that get caught up in unfortunate situations? Of course, you want people to do the right thing, and so when they do the wrong thing, you have to, they have to accept the consequences that come with it. But just as a judge and now running for sheriff, does that give you more do you have more sympathy for these people? Or how would you handle a situation?
Well, I'm a firm believer in giving people second chances, and that's what I did as a judge. If you came to me, the first thing that I always wanted as a judge was the truth. If you're truthful with me and you're honest with me, then I'm gonna do what I can to help you. But now, if you start out and you're telling me stories that's not even close to what's going on, based on the facts, and I know what the facts are, or I've got the facts and the evidence, whatever. So that's the main thing. Tell the truth, and then I would try to help as much as I could, and I'll give you that chance. But now, once you let me down, then I got to do what I got to do. And so that's where we run into the situation. We need to use common sense, because I say it and I've said it 100 times. If you have the authority and you have the power to take a man's freedom, you better know what you're doing, because that messes up a person's life if you do it for the wrong reasons or you don't have the facts. So that's something that I've always stuck to, and I look at it as if you got that authority and you got that power, don't do it because you can. Because if I'm the sheriff, I will not tolerate it. I will not tolerate it. You better, if you make a case, I'm with you 100%, but you better make that case. Because if it's not, you're going to be held accountable because you're a reflection of my administration. So that's where you got to be. The officer will be held accountable. But now, the person who committed the crime, accused of committing the crime, they got to be accountable also. So that's where you got to go by facts. You can't go by feelings. It's facts. Facts is what the law says you have to have.
Absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, you had there was some discrepancies in the sheriff's office, discrepancy in the judge's office. What is your take on transparent in the sheriff's office for its money, this and that?
Well, I think you have to be 100% transparent. I don't have a problem with anybody in Union County, a citizen, knowing how much money's in the drug fund. If there's $300,000 in the drug fund, I'm proud of it because we're doing our job. But, we need to be accountable, and we need to let people know, what's going on. So, just in the magistrate's office, I had a situation in there where a bad situation I really don't like to talk about, but a couple of close friends actually were doing the wrong thing. And it came down to it, and I made the decision to report it. And the reason that I did that is because it's the right thing to do. It might not have been the popular thing to do, it's the right thing to do. So when you do the right thing, you can go to bed and you can feel good about yourself, and you know that you did it. Based on the facts, you did what you had to do, and ethical and moral behavior. I mean, that money belonged to the citizens union. It didn't belong to me. It would have been just as easy for me to say, okay, friends, let's put this money back. We won't say nothing. That's not the way. It was gone. You can't put it back. So if I would have done that, then I'm just as guilty as they are. But on the other hand, they went through the process, they did what they had to do. They're taking care of it, paid restitution, and in talking about second chances, one of the girls actually couldn't find a job, and at that time I had a restaurant and I hired her. And I put her to work because that's the second chance that I gave her, that I trusted her. But it's just it was a bad situation. It had to be handled, it was handled, and we moved on. It's water under the bridge.
We have a question from one of our panel members. He wants to know, who are some of your mentors?
As a person, like growing up, we all had to have mentors to make us who we are.
Yeah, well, of course, my mom and dad, that was the big part of my life. You know, they made sure that I was in church and I did the right things. But the one person, well, there are actually two people that made a big difference in my life, and that was my grandmother and my great uncle. And my grandmother, she was a loving person, and she cared about me. And I'll never forget when I was in high school, because you get into stuff. Well, I always told myself, I said, whatever you do, if you think this is a bad situation, or you're fixing to do something that's going to disappoint your mom and daddy, or you're going to disappoint your grandmother, you need to back off, because I couldn't take that. I would never want to hurt them, and I wouldn't want to hurt her. And then my great uncle, he spent a lot of time with me as a child. That he worked all the time, and he'd take me to work with him. And his thing, when he got off work every afternoon, he would actually go around, and I was wondering how he'd always help these elderly ladies or men or whatever. He'd go work on something, whether it be a stove, a toilet, or whatever. But we'd go, but at the end of when it was all fixed, he would never take any money. And I asked him, I said, well, you didn't get paid for work? And he said, no, I got paid. It's just not monetarily. And so that had a lot of, that's the way I look at things. I've done a lot for people in the past, and especially young kids, and I spent a lot of money doing so, give them opportunities they never would have had. But I don't regret it a bit. Don't want the money back. I did it because it helped them, and there's proof out there of my help with these kids today that I'm proud of these. They're not kids anymore. They're young adults, and they're some have kids now, some have good jobs, some play football, Division I, and there's just a bunch of them, that I can sit down and I'm so proud of.
Well, he has quite a few questions.
Wow.
But you can go.
We spoke on, we spoke last time on defunding police.
Yeah.
Now, our take on that was nothing like what people, the panel.
Right.
It was nothing like what people say, well, police shouldn't have this. But what we talked about and what we thought of is that certain things should be, in the police force, like training should be certain ways and all that kind of stuff, instead of just getting killed with bullets, that the county paid for, to go police the people that the tax money, like a little child, if they go buy a piece of bubble gum, or if they go buy something at Walmart, that's tax dollars. Just to think that, you may have police officers out there who just willing to just pop a bullet. Mm-hmm. So when we say defunding police, we mean more or less like making sure that police officers are trained to be desensitized and all that kind of stuff. So nothing to the point where we think that police should not have weapons or or have good police cars and all that. But we do believe that some training need to be there on people with mental issues and all that kind of stuff. Sensitivity training. So what's your take on that?
And real quick before, let me add one more thing to that. When we also talk about defunding the police, I also want to add in that I know police officers need to have proper equipment, but equipment should not be a factor in how you treat people of the community. Like a body cam should not be the determinant factor of how you treat us, whether it's on or off. Like we should be treated equal, just like anybody else in the community at any given time. I also want to put that in because I know a lot of times they said when you take money from the police department, they need that. It goes to that equipment that they need, but I just want to say that equipment should not be a factor in how you treat the people in the community.
That's right. And it goes back to, like you said, it goes back to training, but it also goes back to leadership. Mm-hmm. You got to lead by example, and that's what I plan on doing. And when I say that, you got when you have these officers that are acting in bad ways and bad behavior, that's got to be where you can't tolerate that, you know. And you got to make a stand as a sheriff. You've got to let them know day one. See, that's why I've been preaching state accreditation. And a lot of people say, well, that costs money. Well, it sure does cost money, but let me tell you something. State accreditation, everybody in that department is following the same rules. Don't care what your name is. I don't care if you've been there 30 years, you've been there 30 days. You still have to follow those rules. And that's why I push state accreditation, because the Chief of SLED, Mark Kill, they met with the legislative committee, and he said the same thing I said in the first debate about we need state accreditation for all law enforcement. And what that does, it gives us the rules, the policies and the procedures for the way the officers are to be treated and reprimanded if they're not doing the right way. It makes me accountable as a sheriff. It makes us all get on the same sheet of music. And I'll give you, this is kind of the way I explain this, state accreditation. It's kind of like you know, when we go get our driver's license, we have to pass the test. You know, it tells us when to yield, when to stop, when to go. You know, you got rules. So that's what state accreditation is. It's just like taking that driving test. It's the rules for law enforcement, just like that would be the rules for the road. And that's the best way I can explain it. They don't change every day. They're set by people that will come in and look at what your situation is and how to handle that situation. And that's where you take that state accreditation and you're held accountable. I am accountable. It's not that I don't have the authority as a sheriff, but it's the rules that we play the game by. Just like a football game, baseball game, you've got those rules. And if you get that spelled out, we get that, and everybody knows. I don't care, like I said, 30 years or 30 days, you've got to follow these rules. If you don't, here's what happens to you. And it's got to be across the board. I don't have favorites. I don't play favorites. I don't care. You know, I can be friends with the deputies, and that's fine. But when it comes down to it, and you have done something that you shouldn't have done, you know what the penalty is. But that's when you make that example of people, then you know they're going to be thinking. And you got to have you got to hire good people. And that's going to come from, you know, county council. You know, I've got to be friends with county council. We've lost their trust, you know. And so I've got to get back to county council so we can be funded and get the right training that we need. And we need to, and when you get the right training, you know, we've got to work on the salaries because we're $10,000 behind in salaries with neighbor and neighbors. We've got to work on all that. But all that's not going to come overnight, and they're not going to get it to us. It's just like I said, to get respect, you got to earn it. We've got to get back to the county council, and we got to let them know. And we got to work. We need the people to work with us. We need this group. We need everybody to work with us in order to help get the image straightened out and keep the sheriff's department moving in a positive direction. And when we do that, the people have the power. The people have the power because they're going to talk to their councilman. And they can say, well, okay, they make improvements. We see what they're doing, so let's help them. And that's where the funding is going to come from. That's where you go, but it's not going to happen overnight because there's a distrust. That's what I feel like my job is. I have got to get there, and I have got to let the people know. I've got to let county council know. I've got the supervisor know. And I want every agency to know, all the fire departments, we're going to do it the right way. We are going to be a trustworthy organization. We're going to do it the right way. If not, I'll handle it. But, you know, and I say this, and I'll say it publicly, and on this broadcast. If you break the rules, I don't care who you are. If you're a major, I'm telling you now, you will have to pay the penalty for whatever you do. Okay, so I'm not going to be involved with it. I don't want to go in and just wholesale fire anybody. I'm going to hold you accountable. You're accountable to me because I'm accountable to the people. And we've got to change this image. We change this image and get this thing moving forward. And you'll be surprised what you can do with positive attitude and positive image. I mean, you can move mountains once you get the people behind you, but you got to get them back. They're out there now, but you got to get them back.
And this might be one of the questions you guys have, but as far as you say, gaining the trust of the county council and the governing bodies and union, how would you gain the trust of the community?
You got to be in the community. You got to let the communities know I need your help, and that is the biggest issue I think you have. I'm not about being reactive. I think you need to be proactive. You need to know the people in the community. The officers need to know. I would love to have enough applications from people in the communities that I could hire an officer from each community. That way you've already got a little bit of a leeway in. But it's like I was telling TJ, I mean, you know, until you gain the trust of the community, until you get those key people that you know that you can go see in the community and get them to trust Jeff Bailey, the sheriff, that I can go sit down and talk to, or we can talk at a quarterly meeting or whatever, that you can come to me, and if you got information about a crime, you got to trust in me that I will take that information and not just put it into an affidavit and make sure that's the way it's going to be. You take that information and you work it, and you leave that person out of it. You know, they're giving you the information, so you got to leave them out of it. Don't throw them under the bus. You know, because that's what I think a lot of the community is scared to. You know, we got a lot of unsolved murders and stuff going on, and that's you're not going to get them solved because everybody's scared. But they're scared because we don't have a relationship with the community. So you get the relationship with the community, and if I walk up to Mr. Smith over here and say, hey, you know, what's going on out here? Tell me something. You know, give me something to go on. I don't want you to testify. Just tell me what's going on, so I can go back and we can work that angle with the investigators or whatever. And once you get to feeling good about about the relationship, and you know, without a shadow of a doubt, my word is my bond. I'm telling you that now. If I give you my word on something, that's what it's going to be. But I expect the same thing out of you too. Yeah. And that's how we're going to build this thing. We're going to build a community.
What would you say is the biggest issue that you see in Union right now?
The biggest issue is, I mean, we got some serious drug issues going on. And that's one of the probably the biggest issue. And you know, Union is pretty big land mass, you know, and you got to cover a lot of ground. But right now, the sheriff department is really understaffed bad, and so that's something that's got to be taken care of. And once we get, like I said, it's not an overnight fix. I'm telling you, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. It's going to take a year maybe just to get the finance stuff done. But you know, we've got to work together, and once we get that going, and then the community's going to help with the drug issue too, because you don't want the drugs to be out there for your kids to get, you know. So that's where we use our SRO officers also. You know, the SRO officers are trained; they're highly trained now in the school. We need them to get in there and have a relationship. That's another community right there. The kids. Get in there and let them trust you. Explain to them about alcohol, drugs, and all that stuff. You know, that's what you can do. You're there. You're more than an errand boy. Be there. Be a friend to the kids. And get those kids to trust you. And that's the kid that's going to come up and tell you, say, so-and-so's got a gun. You know, okay, well, we de-escalated that already. If we know, you know, we'll have until we find out the wrong way somebody might have a gun in school. That's the kind of relationship you need to have. And the SRO officers, and they're, like I said, highly trained, and they know how to do this. So we got to count on them to do that and educate them, and actually educate the kids on what the law is, you know, because here's the problem with the kids. A lot of kids don't realize this, even at the high school level. If they get arrested in high school for fighting or simple possession or anything like that at that young age, that just costs their parents and their family money, because they're going to lose the $20,000 life scholarship. You lose it. So that's something that we need to tell them. You know, this is what the laws are. Learn about search and seizure. Teach them. You know, tell them how. You know what your rights are as an individual. Teach them, because that's as a judge. That's why you follow the law. You follow the law. Elements of the crime. You got to make sure you got those elements of the crime. You can't charge them. You can't just make it up. And you know, that's one thing.
Mr. Captain McNeil, James McNeil, retired from the sheriff office. First African American captain. Wade Hampton retired recently. Awesome record. Being good in the community and everything. What is your take on minorities and promoting people, African Americans in your administration?
I think, number one, I'd like to see more African Americans apply. That's what we got to have first. We've got to have applicants. And then, you know, once you get involved in your hire and you're hired on, then it's like, it's the way I look at it. Anybody that's hired on in that sheriff's department, I'm a goal-oriented type person, so if you're hired on, you need to want to be the sheriff. Okay, that should be your goal, because that's how you're going to progress and you're going to move up through the ranks. But I would like to see more African American apply for the jobs. And then once they get there, I've told you, and I said openly, you got state accreditation. People are promoted based on merit, and that's what you do. Because you got some good people that's been passed over, and you know, just because of their name or you know, they had some type of advantage. And I just don't. I'm going in with a clean slate. I don't owe anybody anything as far as jobs. Haven't promised not one soul a job. We won't do that. I'm going to look at what I've got. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to put the best people in the best positions. And so if that would be a African American male, so be it. I don't have a problem with it. You know, that's just the way it is. It's just like a baseball team. You put your best players on the field because you're there to win. You know, same thing in football. And that's what you got to do. You put the best people in that position. But like I said, I mean, I'd like to see more minorities apply. They got to apply before I can do anything to help, you know.
So they'll be comfortable when they got in there. That's the thing.
Okay.
Like, you don't want to apply or go in there, then you get in there, you're uncomfortable, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, because
I understand. And like I said, the people that's going to be in the sheriff's department, that's working there, that's just part of the respect. And it's like I told some of the jugglers and the guys who work at Chain Gang, you know, if you get talked down to, or you treat like you're a lower level than somebody else, we can't do that. You just can't tolerate that, because that's not being a good person to start with. And so you got to do it the right way. It's just like the title of sheriff to me. What does that title mean to me? It's just a title, because I'm Jeff. I am what I am, you know, and I want to do the right thing. I've got the heart to do the right thing. But you know, it's just a title, and it's not personal gain for me. I'm not doing it for personal gain. I just feel like it's a platform that you're going to be able to reach the community, because somebody's got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to happen soon. It can't happen later. It's got to happen soon. And I just feel like I'm qualified, and I've proved myself over years in management and running my own businesses. And you know how hard that is. I've managed and sold a few in my time, you know, and worked hard on them. But I give you 110%. And like I said, it's not about personal gain or not about being called a sheriff to me. It's about fixing a problem that we have, making it work. And like I said, it's something that we got to do. I got to have your help. I got to have the community's help.
Yeah.
I can't. It's not about it's about us. We got to do it together as a community, and that's what we're going to straighten out a lot of issues.
You know, a lot of people, you know, probably wonder why do you want to talk to sheriff candidate? With all the stuff that we got going on in the world today, people don't realize that it starts locally. You know, and if you have a shooting or something goes on wrong, it started off locally, you know. And even like people say, well, my vote don't mean nothing. Well, if you don't vote, guess what? You're not a juror. So now you never be on the grand jury. I stayed on the grand jury for 2 years. The second year I volunteered. You know, so a lot of cases brought to me. I'm like, hey, this case ain't right. You know, I'm not just going to indict somebody for what you felt, but that's what people don't realize, how important it is to start locally. So far as the sheriff is very important, because your deputies they gonna pull people over, or they're gonna go into domestic violence, they're gonna go into kids with drugs, and like right now you said something about drugs. I don't think people realize how serious that is. I see a lot of kids who have problems, birth defects, because their parents do drugs. Women go have babies by men who do drugs, right? And the children have deformities, you know. Sometimes they're not physical, sometimes they're mental. And they don't realize how important that is. So, but realizing that stuff comes from up high. A lot of those drugs and stuff come from up high, you know. And, you know, you got little local people pushing drugs, but you got big wheels who's supplying drugs and stuff. So, we got to focus on that, you know, and trying to curtail some of that. And people need to have these conversations with their children. You know, you can't blame that all on law enforcement. And when I got a brother or a sister or uncle who I sit back and watch do drugs all the time, I can't expect the police come clean it up when I look. That's my brother. Like, hey man, you do a lot of drugs. You need to stop. You know, you think about having children. You know, it takes a village. You know, and people need to understand it. And that's why I'm so bent on working in the community. You know, I see little children born, and I watch them. And I like, you know, the child got a disadvantage. You know, and all because their parents doing something.
Right.
You know, I had a guy bring up my son. His friend came to the house. He had a vape pen, and the vape pen that the guy had, he don't smoke. So God knows what he had in that vape pen. And my little son, being 5 years old, well at the time he was like 4, his little 8-year-old friend come by with a vape pen. He said, "Here, want to try it?" And first thing you know, he ready to put it to his mouth, but his brother saw him.
Right.
But all that starts from somebody at home. It starts at home. We got to make sure we push that. And see, I'm willing to work with law enforcement, you know, to have these programs so they can go to school. Well, you know, Jerry, we at school say no to drugs. They don't do that no more.
Yeah.
You know, we had Dare to Be Different.
Right.
You know, you had the little, man, they don't do that no more. And I think we need to look at that. And it goes from alcohol all the way to drugs. People need to pay
And that's
attention
what
to
the
that.
SRO officers are trained for now. You know, the DARE program went away years ago, and I'm not sure how successful that they felt it was, the legislature or whatever, or funding, or they just quit funding the program or whatever. But that's something that the DARE, the SRO officers is, if I'm sheriff, they need to work on that. I mean, they need to teach. They need to teach the kids right from wrong. You know, they might not have that father at home to tell them that. You know. And told them that, you know, that this is not right, this is experiences I've seen, and you just going down the wrong road. And I've lectured some for hours, you know. I can give you a list of ones I've lectured for hours, and they'll laugh about it now, but they see it now that they're older. They understand what I was trying to tell them. So, you know, that's a big deal to me, you know, working just like with Mickey Gist, he does a lot of programs, you know. And so, you know, Mickey I told him I would do anything I could to support his program. And anybody's got a program. I mean, you got to work with everybody. But that's where you got to get that community meeting, and you got to have it, and they got to let you know what the deal is. And hey, I got this program now. I can't go fund everything, but can I go speak to them and be a role model and give them an actual life experience? You know, that might mean a lot to a kid.
So no matter who's the sheriff whoever it will be, we got to put Republicans and Democrats off to the side. We got to work together as a collective body. We got to work together as a
And I said that before, as far as sheriff, politically, I don't care less what your views are. It's more about your morale, your character, what type of person you are. Are you trustworthy? You know, because you're putting a lot in a person's hands when they have that position.
Right.
And if they don't hold people accountable, things happen.
Right. And it's a powerful position, but you know, if I'm elected going in day one, I'm telling you now, I owe nobody any favors. Publicly, saying it right here. If you contribute to my campaign, you think you're going to get something out of me? You're not. It's not going to happen. So, you know, it's like I tell officers, and I met with them the other night, and I told them, I said, let me tell you, if you make a case on somebody, then you got, if it's a big family, say, and it's worth 200 or 300 votes to me, I have no problem with it. You arrest them if they broke the law. But you better make sure that you do the right thing when you arrest them, because you're going to be held accountable, because I'm accountable to you, and we'll have your back. We'll stand behind you 100% as an officer if you do the right thing. But if you do the wrong thing, no sir, ain't going to happen. It won't happen to me.
Mr. Smith brought a great point up a couple of weeks ago when he was on here, and he was talking about the good old boy system was one of the issues with Union County, how sometimes people in those positions would turn their head and let their friends get away with things. And you talked about it earlier about how you even had to hold some of your friends accountable for some things they did. What are your thoughts on the good old boy system in Union, and how do you plan on breaking that up?
That's easy to break up. I'm telling you publicly right now. Break the law, I don't care who you are. I'm telling you now. It don't matter, because that's the judge part of me. You know, you have, if you're going to hold the sheriff accountable, and you're going to hold the officers accountable, You gotta hold the defendants accountable. Everybody's accountable. Everybody. I don't care. Your name is just a name. And and TJ, if you break the law, I mean, I gotta do what I gotta do, you know? If he breaks the law, I gotta do what I'm gonna do. It's not because me and Mr. Smith have known each other for a while, you know, it don't matter. That don't matter. My friends don't put me in that position.
I respect a person more like that. That's being fair.
Yeah.
That's being fair.
I just don't want to get no trouble because the man already done said.
I might lose votes tonight because of it, but I'm telling you now, if Union County wants somebody to do the right thing
Yeah.
and do it the right way, then you need to elect me. If you don't want it and you want the same old stuff, don't elect me. I'm good. I'm offering my services to Union County. I think I've got what it takes. I know I got what it takes, but I need the opportunity. And the only way I'm going to get it is if the people believe in me. And I tell you what, in 4 years, if you think I'm just telling you what you want to hear, you know how to get rid of me. Get rid of me. It's a vote. But I'm telling you now, I'm going to dedicate 110% to the job. And I'm not just telling you what you want to hear. I'm telling you how I'm going to do it. And it is being involved with the community. The officers need to be involved with the community. I don't care if they go sit down and eat biscuits in the morning with you at parties or whatever. That's good. That's good for morale. That's good for the people. You know, that's how you build a relationship. I'm not going to micromanage them and tell them, you know, you can't go here, you can't go here. You need to be in the public. That's why you got a car with keys. Don't just answer calls, but you got to understand them on their behalf, on the officer's behalf. We are so short-staffed now. This is dangerous. It is very dangerous to have, you know, because you're working so many hours, and you know, if you work 60 hours a week, you let your guard down. In any job, that's how you get hurt. You let your guard down, and it's not safe for them. I want them to go home to their families. You know, I want to take care of the officers, but I want to take care of the public too. But I'm not going to sell my soul for either one. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to do it. I mean, it's just flat. It's straight down the line. That's just the way I am. I'm straight down the line. I play it by the book. And if that's what Union County wants, then that's what they can get. But it's up to the people of Union County.
Well, what the people I see, what we want is for them to go home at night, for we can keep the news reporters, the CNN, the big time people, we can keep them out of here. We don't need that kind of stuff. We don't need no George Floyds. We don't need none of it. We don't need nobody shooting at no officers. And we need people to say, look, I want to be a police officer. You know, and them guys need some help. People,
That's right.
you know, that's a good career. You know, like, hey, look, I want to be in a good career. I want to stay here in Union, but I don't want to be in danger.
That's right.
You know, so make it where everybody can get along and do what's right.
And that's what you got to do. That's where I've got to have, if I'm sheriff, I've got to have your help. I've got to have your help. I've got to have everybody in the community's help. And then we get the officers and let them understand. And see, right now, you just got to think the officers are kind of like, they're kind of guarded or shielded now because they don't really know how the people perceive them, you know? But once the people perceive them in a positive light, then that's going to bring them out. But we're short-staffed now, and that's why we have got to hurry and get county council on board and get the people of Union County on board and believe in us. I'm just asking the people to believe in us. Believe in the sheriff department. Just let's forget about it. Water under the bridge. We're going to start a new day, a new time, and everybody's got a new life they can start. You know, they'll start a new life, and we're going to move from there. And then some of them aren't going to make it because I'm telling you, they won't buy into the team concept. But if you don't buy into the team concept, you can't play. You have to find somewhere else. So, you know, we'll do what we have to do. It's not going to happen overnight. Though. We got to just take our time. You got to have good people apply. And see, if you don't have good people apply, you can't hire good people. But see, a lot of the applications you get now is because they got fired somewhere else, so they come to Union because we're in need. You still want to see you say that first, but that's what the people's got to help me. That's where we got to get to the council members. So we got to give these people that's put their life on the line. We got to give them more money. We got to give them the vest they need so they can go home to their family. Don't ask them to crawl up a tree that you ain't gonna climb. And that's what we're asking them to do. We're asking them to go out there now without a vest. It's not safe, not in this world. But that's when we have to work together and bring the community together, bring the community into it and get feedback, and that's exactly how I plan to do it. No hidden agenda with me. I mean, it's just straight down the line. That's what I plan on doing. And I plan on being there myself. I'm a social person. I'm liable to pull up here at the barber shop and talk to you one day, or I'm liable to pull up and, down in Lockhart and get out and say, hey, what's going on? But, a classic example, while I was campaigning, is I was down at Carlisle and I seen some guys sitting out there. And when I pulled up, got out of the truck, some of them run, I said, well, you ain't got to go nowhere. You own your own property, you're doing what you're not doing anything. Why you run? I just want to talk to you. But that's what you got to do. When you see a group of people sitting there, even if they're drinking an alcoholic beverage or something, they're on their property, well, don't be scared. We don't want the officers to be scared. We don't want the people to be scared. But no, what we're going to fix it is educate everybody about it. Educate what the officer's job is. What's his role in society? What is the community's role? Let's just do what we're supposed to do. Do what the officer asks you to do. If he's being blind, if he's out of line, then it will show on the body cam. I'll handle it. I promise you.
You'll handle that?
I will, because it's going to, you can't, how can I ask you to trust me if I let them get by with it? Do the right thing. It's not a hard thing to do.
With all that's going on, as you said, that officers are somewhat on edge because they're short-staffed and then they don't know how the community views them. And then you have the Black community who, not sure how the police view them. With all that's going on in the world, there's a lot going on in this country. Police, again, in community, not having that bond.
Right.
And a lot of that, it involves younger people, it involves the youth.
Right.
A lot of people record now.
That's right.
They take out their phone and they're going to record. How do you feel, what are your views on someone pulling the camera out?
I mean, that's fine, because if the officer's doing something wrong, you're catching it. If he's doing something wrong, you gotta be polite. You gotta do the right. You got to do your job, and that's serve the public. I'm not saying that the officers are wrong 100% of the time. They're not. But it's just how I approach you. If I would have walked up to you in the parking lot out here and I would have been rude to you right off the start, our relationship in here would have been terrible. But I spoke to you, found out your name, found out who you were. Look, that's what you got to do. I mean, that's how you handle it. There's more to it than just going, just being a robot and not having a personality. You use your personality to even if somebody's doing something wrong, you've got to feel that situation out. You need to analyze the situation when you pull up as an officer and take it from there. And you'll know pretty much what your first response is going to be. So that's what they're trained to do. They just need more training too, because they haven't had a whole lot of training lately. That's what we got to do. We've got to get their training, and we can't just have one person getting all the training, building a resume. We got to have everybody getting training. Because as a judge, I can't tell you every year I had to have 25 to 30 hours of, and you did too with DSS. But I had to have all that training every year in criminal domestic violence and all this stuff. So you got to have that training. And I learned from it. I learned how to run my job. So if you don't have training and you don't have, things that go along with it, how can you run your job? They just throw you out there into the wolves. You can't do that. So it's not a good mix. So that's where we got to change it. And like I said, I'm 100% behind the deputies. And I want them to have their needs, not their wants. I want them to have their needs to go home to their family and get what they need. And then the wants will come later on, if once we gain the trust of the public, and then we can go from there and see what else will happen, But there's a lot of changes that can be made.
You say you're behind your deputies, but also how important is it to speak out against them? Because I know a lot of people in our community, we feel like it's so divided, because when you see things like a George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or Trayvon Martin, we see these things with people in law enforcement overall on TV, they do these things to us and then they get off the hook and it's like there's no accountability. But how important is it on the side of law enforcement to speak out against these things? Even if it's not in our community, how important is it to speak out against those things?
Well, that's where, when you build that relationship with the community, along with having a community relationship, I've got to have a relationship with my officers. And they've got to know, they've got to buy into the program. But also the community's got to buy in. And we see all that stuff on the national news and that's terrible stuff, but really in Union, we don't really have that major problem. We have some issues, but we don't have a major. And that's something we need to stop now before it gets here. We don't need to travel across state lines to get here. We need to stop it now. And this is what y'all are doing with the show. You're letting it get out there how we need to do things. And that's and I say it all along. We've never had these podcasts and stuff that we can get our message out. I mean, this is a great way to touch people, and we're touching them and letting them know. I can say it publicly. I say it now how I feel. And they're gonna know that. But you gotta see me 6 months from now and see how I act.
Right.
But you're gonna see the same person. I'm telling you, you're gonna see the same person because I put my pants on just like everybody else. It's not about the sheriff. It's not. This is the sheriff. If he walks 10 feet taller than everybody else and he's bulletproof, that don't happen with me. Because you got to. It's like I told a guy one time playing baseball, and he told me, he was. Oh yeah, I hit all these home runs, and I guarantee you know what I'm talking about. But he hit all these home runs at Greenwood and everything. He's a JV, and the varsity wasn't hitting any, and he's all bowed up and everything. I said, let me tell you something. You better learn how to humble yourself, because I said everybody you pass on the way up that ladder, you're gonna see them on your way down too, and they're gonna remind you. So you got to humble yourself, and you got to be, even though you got the title of sheriff, you got to be a real person. You got to have that heart if you see a situation, and some people might think it's kind of crazy that I say that, but that's just the way it is. That's the world we live in now. You just have to be respectful, and that way you get it back.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I play it.
And then see, a lot of people don't realize that the world that we live in now is different. You got cameras, everything. Like right now, we record it, even if we didn't have one of those cameras. I got cameras all over the place. Everything's under surveillance. So when you see something done on surveillance, like George Floyd, when the guy had his knee on his neck, and the other guy was like, do we need to turn him over? And you still had some people say, well, the man was on drugs and all that kind of stuff. It just, you got to know the facts. When we sit right here and see this man begging for his life, and now it's different. I heard my whole life police officers say, you carry a little stinger with you. If you ever shoot somebody, you throw it down. They did that. The guy tried that in Charleston. The man was running, he shot him in the back, and then he took his taser and threw it off and didn't realize somebody was recording him. I tell anybody, the devil knows what you want to do, and he's going to give you an opportunity to do it. He's also the same one that's going to hang you up to dry. Because the devil's thing is to see you lose your soul. And all kind of people lose their soul because of the hatred. So what we got to do as with me, God has put in me how I should be, and I treat anybody the same way I want to be treated. And that's the bottom line. When we learn to respect each other and love each other and realize that we are all God's children, it's easy to it's easy to stand up against when you see something wrong. A lot of people say, well, I stand behind the deputy that put his knee on his neck. When we seen it on video, when he's on drugs, I don't care what kind of drugs he was. If he was on drugs, that means he can handle drugs. He wouldn't have died like that. Yeah. Everyone there was that kind of
stuff. See, we do have our share of problems, but not like what we see on TV.
Yeah.
So the sheriff elect have an advantage now. Yeah. Because see, he can nip it in the bud, and get to his house.
If somebody would try to shoot, when you see that kind of stuff.
But here's what you got to do. When you hire people, they need to go through that psychological evaluation. They need that, but also, you need to jump. That's what I want to try to get away from. Is just hire somebody because we need a body. We can't hire bodies no more. Yeah. It's too risky.
It's too risky.
So what we have to do is we have to hire good people. We have to get everything lined up that we need, that we can bring those people, the good people in, and they know they got a future, and they can move up in rank, and they can make more money, and they can and feel good and have a big goal oriented. Yeah. But that's something they do. But as the sheriff, and not just who I want to hire, but I want to have a group of people that work inside the sheriff's office that we'll all look at the applications, but we need to monitor the social media. You'll find out a lot about people through social media. Me personally, I don't do social media. I don't have Facebook. I don't do it. And that, I mean, that might be a disadvantage to me, but as a judge, I've seen so much trouble starting from Facebook because people are proud to say stuff on Facebook,
Yeah.
but they won't say it face to face. So, you know, that's just, and it causes trouble. It causes people to lie and to get into situations that, you know, and they say, you know, it's an argument, a fight, or a shooting, or whatever it is. But you monitor who you hire, monitor their Facebook pages.
Yeah.
And see,
I like that.
you know, social media, just see where they, you know, what they talk about. And you'll find out a lot about the true people on social media.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's something that you need to do, along with, you know, you got to check the prior employment. Why did they leave? Why did they leave Lawrence County? Or why did they leave Charleston?
Yeah.
There's a reason they left.
Yeah.
It wasn't because you come to Union, you're going to make way less money. Why'd you leave? You know.
Yeah.
So that's where we got to get better applications, better people, and you know, and like I said, the ones that's there now, they're working hard because they're short staffed, and like I said, and I hate that, but that's something I hope we can take care of. But if I'm elected sheriff, I can't just hire somebody just for a warm body.
You gotta monitor.
Right back on, you know, well, you'll be right back into something else because they'll, you know, tell them why they left the other agency.
Yeah. That's good. I like that.
And as we get close to election time, one of my biggest concerns with the election, both Democrat and Republican, but especially the Democrats, is like it's known for African Americans to vote just Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the issue with that is when you just automatically give the Democrat your vote, that gives them no incentive to do anything for you. They don't have to worry about it because they already know that they have your vote.
Right.
What do you do to make sure that you don't take the black vote or any of your voters for granted?
It's just my personality. And my word is my bond. I'm telling you, and I'm saying it on these cameras. I mean, like you said, there's cameras everywhere. I'm telling you now, I intend to work with the community. That's what I have to do in order to have a successful sheriff's department, a successful community, to be proud of a successful sheriff's department. So that's just what you have to do. You have to make sure I'm telling you what I'm going to do and hold me accountable. Hold me accountable to it. I mean, you're going to do more of these shows, I hope. And you know what I'm saying, that I would let him come on at any point in time to share. And don't, you know, and if there's an issue comes up, hey, you got a right to know. I work for you. Bring me on here and ask me about it, I'll tell you.
I'm glad Mr. Carlos brought that out. We have a tendency to just go straight Democrat, and it should not be like that.
Right.
It should not be straight Republican, should not be straight Democrat, or nothing like that. It should be the best person for the job. When Tim Scott was running for the Senate, I said, wow, you with Tim Scott, you support Tim Scott. I feel that me was the best person for the job. You know, best person for the job. And then it goes back. It before, during, and after the election, it's still much needed work to do. You have to have an agenda set up, and you have to say, hey, Mr. Bailey, this community, we voice our opinion for you, and we want you to look at this agenda before you vote. Then you vote. Then after you vote, hold them accountable to what they, you know, what they said they're gonna say, what they're gonna do. Hold them accountable. But we have a tendency to go vote, and after vote, that's it for 4 years. We don't get involved in the community. We don't get involved with school board. We don't get involved with the city council meeting. That's it for 4 years. That's it. And then likewise, if you don't watch it, you got some political candidate, same thing. You don't see it no more.
That's why I'm glad what you said. Bring me back to the show. Hold me accountable.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, if I'm not doing what I tell you I'm doing, call me back in. You got to hold me accountable. Hold my feet to the fire.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting there telling you something, my word is my bond. I'm telling you what I'm going to do, and that's all I can do. I mean, I can't do no more. You know, everybody said, well, golly, you need to go here, you need to do this, you need to do that. Look, I'm telling people. I've told a lot of people, just trust me. I need your help, but you trust me, and I promise you, I'll give you 110%. But like I said, I told you all along, if on November the 3rd, if Jeff Bailey's not elected sheriff, that's fine. I'm at peace with it because I'm offering what I feel like that I can contribute to society to help. that's what I'm offering. And like I said, if it don't work out, you know, I'll still come on the show. If you need to talk about something, I'll come on here and talk to you about it. But I'm a positive person. I want to be positive, and that's the only way we're going to ever, you know, we're going to move forward is being positive. And like I said earlier, water under the bridge, just let it go. Let it go, let's move on. But, you know, if I'm elected, I've got 4 years to prove myself. And at the end of the 4 years, if I hadn't done what I said, you call me out, I'll be on the show again. You know, just, that's the way it is. The big word is transparent and accountability. That's what you gotta have. You'll always know where I stand and you'll always know what I'm doing.
Time is starting to wind down. I still have some more questions that I would like to ask. I don't want to think that took place, I think it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, we had the Black Lives Matter mural. I want to know your thoughts on the Black Lives Matter mural that we have now in Union County.
And you know, like I said, and some people, you know, they don't believe in it, and some people do. But that's just an expression of freedom of speech that you have. And you know, I'm all about it. I'm about any type of civil, you know, protest. It's got to be civil, you know. You know, if you can protest anything, that's your right as a citizen to protest something. Just do it in a respectful way. That's the way I look at it, and do it within the bounds of the law, and I think everything will be great. But you know, you can't hate on people just for the Black Lives Matter movement, and then. But then again, you can't have those people hating on some other, you know, some other situation that's going on. You know, there's this freedom of speech. So we got as a community, here we go, working together again. That's what we got to do. We got to come to some type of ground that we can stand on together.
I think with that, the problem lies is a lack of communication, a lack of listening on some parts of individuals, because as we say, like defund the police. Some people have this definition of it, others have this definition. Right. It's Black Lives Matter. Some people take it this way, and some people take it that way. You know, it's a lack of communication oftentimes. My views on it is it's more like asking for equality. And some people take it as they're a hate group or a protest. You know, it's a peaceful. It's supposed to be a peaceful. Movement.
Expression.
It's like the one guy, he said he was a write-in candidate. He said the same thing. If you ask your wife, she said, "Baby, do you love me?" You said, "Well, I love everybody." You know, that's sort of like, well, no, I ask her, "Do you love me?" No, I love everybody. You know, the Bible says I want to love everybody. That's exactly, you know, what we're saying, and it's not so much of saying like Black lives mean more than white lives.
Right.
You know, and I think a lot of people don't want to say that when they say all men created equal. Then you look at the Constitution and say all men created equal, but black people were slaves then. So are you saying, well, you fit up on that category again? Well, all people are created equal when we know it's not. So when we say Black Lives Matter, say this out there, it's not so much that we say, hey, the white lives don't matter, or blue lives don't matter. For one, there's no such thing as blue lives. You choose to wear that. You choose to wear that light. But I will say this: that's one of the biggest gangs in America. You know, police officers, because if I know I done wrong, I got people standing behind me and say, you know, well, you didn't. You know, exactly. So and you got that. So for them to try to use that to say it's a hate group or something like that, I tell any officer to his face. That's not the same thing. When we say Black Lives Matter, it's just like I said, you wouldn't tell your wife I love everybody. It's not hard to say we gonna love black people too, right? You know, and
it's a conversation that needs to happen. The same way that this show is a conversation that needs to happen in Union. There's things that are going on in Union that, you know, it perceives us in a negative light, and we need to bring it out of negative the same way with that movement. And that's a lot of things is communication. And officers definitely need to have that open communication with the community, youth and older community. Because we're all involved.
Communication, transparent, and accountability.
You need to have that. And that's the only thing we were asking. If you become sheriff, allow them officers to sit down and talk to us, and we make. Because when I pull over there to that, thank God for Josh Meadows doing that. I had 2 officers, well, I had one officer come over there, he was like, T, can I take a picture with you on top of this? I love this. You know, I love the fact that we're saying, you know, everybody deserves a fair trial. You know, and shouldn't be shot or killed like a dog. Anybody shouldn't be like that. You deserve to go to court.
Yeah,
That's all.
But that's there again. That's what I have to lead by example.
Yeah.
That's what I have to offer. I have to lead by example. And if I do the right thing, they know they're expected to do the right thing. But it'll be nipped quick.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're signed, you know, you can't let it get out of control.
That's right.
We as a group of people, like you said, have to communicate.
Yeah.
We as a group, and once we do that, then everything will be a whole lot better off.
Yeah.
Because when you have division, you have nothing.
The Bible tells us that.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
You know.
You can't have division. So
Yeah, that's true.
and like I said, I'm not here telling you what you're gonna hear. I'm just saying that's the way I operate. That is me.
Yeah.
Because I over the years I've worked with people and kids and just, you know, tried to explain to them the right way. But also as a good listener too. You've got to be a good listener.
Yeah.
If you're not a good listener, you're not going to be productive. And I tell people this too. You know, I ask people this question a lot of times, but I feel like I have leadership ability. Okay. But here's what a lot of people think. People think that leaders should gather more followers. That's false. Leaders should produce more leaders. If you do that, then that's what real leaders do. They produce leaders that will carry on and do the right thing. Just like I don't want to be sheriff forever. You know, I don't want to make a long 20-year career out of it. I want somebody young to come along and have the aspiration of being sheriff one day, but do it the right way. And have the same thought process. You know, I hope one comes, if I'm elected in 8 years from now or whatever, if somebody wants to run for sheriff and they out of the department, that would be an easy election. If they followed by the teachings and the principles and the accreditation that we have, if they follow that law and they've progressed, then it should be an easy deal. Nothing to question. But we can't tolerate bad behavior. Morally, immoral, any kind. I won't tolerate it.
There you go.
And I just wanted to ask one question, Les. How do you plan to promote more officers, like recruit more officers? Like, what is your plan to recruit good officers?
This is how it's going to work. You're going to have to clean the image up. Clean the image of the department up where you believe in it, where you believe in the Union County Sheriff's Department. If the people believe in it, then they're going to have to get behind the council members, and the council members are put in there by their constituents. So therefore, they have to do what their constituents say. You know, if they want to fund more funding to raise the salaries, we are $10,000 starting pay for Lawrence County to Union County. It's $10,000 difference. You're not going to get the top-notch guy. You're going to get what's left over. It's just like when you know, back in the years ago when I was a kid, you picking your baseball team.
The last
Two there, hey, you know, it's gonna come down to it. Usually the person that didn't get the last one get picked feel like well, that's what I'm saying. You having to hire people from the bottom of the barrel. We can't. And when you hire from the bottom of the barrel, you get the bottom of the barrel. So we got to. This is the deal. Image has got to straighten out. You get to the people. The people get behind county council. The people believe in us. County council believes in us. Then we move on. We get the funding we need, but you got to earn it. We got to earn the respect of the people and county council. Okay, that's what we got to do. And then because you're the line between the people and safety. So you're gonna say you're just not gonna fund us? You're not gonna get us? You're not gonna help us to hire good people so we don't have these problems? Because one person can cause a lawsuit it's terrible. It'll be a disaster. You know, so you gotta do like a risk needs assessment on this thing. You know, you got to say, hey, well, by doing this, what's the risk? You know, and that's where I feel like with my management abilities, I can assess situations like that. I can look at it and see which direction we need to go. I can do the budget. I see what we need to do. And people say, well, you just got so much money you can't do it. I don't believe it. I ain't buying it. Because if you do the right thing, people believe in you. And if people believe in you, then it'll come. It'll happen. And that's my plan. I mean, it's simple as that. I might be giving away all my secrets, but I said them first, so.
I have two final questions for me. I'm not sure if anybody else has any questions, but if elected sheriff, what is something that you guarantee will happen if you were elected?
I guarantee you that it's gonna get cleaned up. It's gonna be cleaned up. You know, we're gonna start day one, and we're gonna start cleaning up. We're gonna do the right thing. And you can't, I don't want people just drawing a check. I need people who's involved. I want them to be dedicated to what they do, and the officers are dedicated to what they do. And they believe in what they do, or they wouldn't be at their risk in their life for us. But that's the difference you're gonna see right off the bat is gonna be the change in the way that we look, the way we do things. That's gotta change. Like I said, you got to be a team player. And if you don't want to vote for me because I'm telling you you're gonna have to do the right thing, well, don't vote for me. But I'm telling you, you got to do the right thing. That's what's expected of you by the people. To do the right thing, not just me, but the people expect me as being an elected official to do the right thing. Lead by example, and they got to buy into the program. And that's what we're gonna start day one. You'll see the image change day one. Because it's gonna it's going to be a fresh deal. Everybody's going to know, hey, this is what we got to do. This is where we're starting, but here's where we're going. You got to let them know where they're going. You got to tell them which way to drive. We're going this way. This is what our chief goal is right here. Fix the image.
And then my one final question for those people, it's already people that have their mind made up who they're going to vote for, and it's not going to change no matter what anybody said. But for those people that are split down the middle, what would you say to those people that's tuning in?
I would say analyze me as a person, look at what my experiences are, and then make an educated decision. Don't make a knee-jerk decision about who you vote for. Make an educated decision. If you think I'm the best man for the job, I'll do the job for you. But if you think my opponent is a better man for the job, that's what we need to do. But it's up to the people now, and you have to make. I know how I'm gonna vote. I'm voting for Jim. I'm gonna tell you, and I hope my wife will. but anyway, that's what we got to do. But that's what we have to do.
Let me know if you don't.
That'd be bad. But we just have to be. We have to be just like we just had that exchange right there. That's just the way I am. I'm lighthearted. I can kid with you, I can go on, and that's what you gotta have. You gotta have a personal sheriff. You can't have a stiff neck, it looks down on people. You can't do that. You gotta have somebody that's gonna be truthful, it's gonna be ethical, it's gonna be moral. Those are the things that you get taught in church is what you got to take to the sheriff's department. I don't mix religion and politics, but I'm just saying, but my character, the people in Union County who really know me, I talk to them, talk to the kids that I work with, But I just think that we work with all kids. We have to, and I've made a point of that all my life, and I've supported them, and I still support them. I still support those kids that, I'm proud every time Shy Smith catches football. I'm telling you, because me and Shy spent a lot of time when he was a little kid, We spent a lot of time together and played a lot of ball over the years and several others, But, those are proud moments. A.J. Hunter, when he got baptized, I was Buffalo Baptist with him, But that's what I remember. Those are the good times, So that's what I stand for. That's, and some people might not believe that, but that's okay, because you're going to have people that just not going to believe in it. But make it, listen to me, watch me, and make a decision. Because what you see right here is what you get. What you've seen tonight is me.
Absolutely. Mr. Bailey, thank you for your time, and also Mr. Smith, thank you for serving our community, being a leader in our community. We really appreciate it. Like I said earlier, it was so important to have you here because we go vote a lot of times and we don't know who we're voting for. We don't see the face. We just see names on the ballot, and we'll do straight ticket or however we choose to vote. But we don't know these people that we're actually voting for. Right. So it was so important for this panel. Like I say, I always thank TJ for helping bring this together because for so long we didn't have a platform and we didn't have a chance to learn about our candidates or learn these things that we need to know about in our community. So thank you again. Before we get out of here, I want to thank everybody for tuning in once again. If you didn't get a chance to watch this live, make sure you can go back and watch it on Amazon, listen to it on Amazon Music, Spotify, Pandora, iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and YouTube. So thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you took something away from this, and make sure next month you get out and vote. But until next time, keep chasing dreams. This is Union. It's time we talk. Thank you for listening.